Hello, I'm John Hughes. By day, I'm a data protection officer in the NHS, making sure that patients' records are secure and confidential. That pays the bills. And in the evenings and at weekends, I'm a writer. I've cut my teeth on magazine articles and reference books for many years, and then 6 years ago, I thought I'd try my hand at fiction. Since then, I've had 3 novels and a collection of short stories published. It's called Living with Joe, a curious, if not bizarre story about a man and his fantasy relationship with a cardboard cutout of the woman of his dreams. The publisher's chosen genre is romance. I tend more towards black comedy. In truth, a combination of the two is probably about right. In 2 words, Joanna Lumley. I had the privilege of meeting her 30 years ago. We had tea together, and I've admired her from a distance ever since. More recently, I was sent a cardboard cutout of her by a friend as a joke. These 2 things together gave me the idea for a story. Suppose they happened to somebody not dissimilar to me in age, character and circumstance, but with less of a handle on reality, less mentally stable. And suppose he started to develop an emotional attachment to her. Perhaps he started to talk to her and reply as her until eventually he becomes embroiled in a fantasy love affair. And suppose it goes a step too far. Suppose he starts to become jealous and suspects she's having an affair. It could just tip him over the edge. Well, there is only one, to be honest. I call him Oliver. 1.5 in fact, because there's Oliver and his cardboard cutout Joe, who is an extension of him. The whole story revolves around this seemingly improbable relationship, but very real relationship to Oliver, and whether or not ultimately fantasy or reality will prevail. That's what drives the narrative. And as a reader recently observed, and I quote, "Quite where the border between fantasy, obsession and madness lies is blurred. And despite being improbable, I found myself going along with it as if this was all perfectly normal." Creating something from nothing. You can give birth to characters, you can plot their lives, you can bring them great happiness or great sorrow, you can kill them off. Anything you like with an almost godlike control. And I like to be able to steer a reader towards a predestined goal which only you know. And I love hearing from readers when they've read my books, learning that you've made them laugh out loud or brought them to tears and that they couldn't stop turning the pages. That's very satisfying. Get on and write it. Once you've got your good idea, sit down and start putting the words together. Only when you've got an end product will you know whether or not you've got something. That old adage, "there's a book in all of us," may be true, but it's no good floating around in your head. What you need to do is to make that fantasy a reality. Although I wouldn't tell Oliver that. Living with Joe is available from all online sellers, including Wordery, Amazon, eBay, and to order from all good bookstores. If you live in the UK, you can also order signed copies direct from me, www.john-hughes.co.uk. I do hope you choose to read Living with Joe, and if so, I'd be very curious to know what you think. Thank you for your time. Goodbye from me, and of course, goodbye from my flatmate, Joe.